Hello, welcome to A Neu Perspective. My name is Noel and I'm a licensed mental health counselor in my 20th year of private practice. The goal of this series is to explore everyday topics in mental and emotional health through the lens of empathy, accountability, and personal growth. My guest today is Kim Litton. Kim is a licensed clinical social worker, certified addiction professional, and a certified sex addiction therapist. Kim is also the author of I Do It For Her, a memoir of recovery and redemption from sex, love, and substances. I've personally and professionally known Kim now for the past 12 years and have watched her become a juggernaut in the mental health field. And it's my great pleasure to have her here today. Welcome, Kim.
Oh, thank you so much, Noel. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
So, Kim, going through your content on Instagram, I know you do Instagram, TikTok,
Yes.
Facebook, all that.
Yes.
And there was one reel that really hit me. Talk about that. It was you're in a toxic relationship with your exterminator.
I love that you're bringing that one up.
Yeah.
That's hysterical. Yes. So what do you want me to say about that,
Well,
Noel?
Well, the reason why I like, first of all, it's hilarious. And I know you're being serious, but funny too.
Yes.
So the reason why I bring it up is because usually, toxic relationship means significant other.
Yes.
Spouse, partner.
Yes.
But, we can have it with just people in our
For
life.
sure. Yeah. And it was more of a joke and a laugh at myself, like I have gotten myself into a toxic relationship with this exterminator. Yeah. And I can't get out, and it's so funny, like how the exterminator was literally doing the same thing that a narcissist would do to an empath. She was just gaslighting me and telling me everything. I was like, you're not seeing roaches there. There's no way you could see roaches. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? Wait, what? Know? And so it was just making me chuckle inside. And then afterwards I was like, gosh, this really is like a toxic relationship. And then when she left, I still had not been served. She literally had put a few baits underneath my, my sinks. And it was just so funny that she left and I was like, oh wait, I still do not have anything done to my house. What I pay for has not been done. You know what I mean?
Yes,
and it's and then that brought up for me, God, that's how it feels when I have been in the past in that relationship with a narcissist or just the toxic relationship with someone who's just impossible. And everything you say is wrong or not right, or they nitpick everything you say. It's all very content oriented, so to speak. And then they leave or they, leave me hanging or ghost me or something like that. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I've been so kind and I've been so nice and I'm paying you effing,
right.
Well,
I'm paying for a service.
I'm paying for your service,
and you're not getting it. So let me ask you this, because, part of what I'm trying to put out there and it will be in my book coming out later and talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, I want to hear about it.
Is the empath, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
So this person, and the other side of the toxic relationship is the narcissist or somebody who's very self-absorbed and gaslighting or maneuvering and manipulating you. So as the empath, how do we set boundaries? Or do we how do we stop falling into codependency? Because, it's hard because the next step is to fire this person, but you'll probably have some triggers or some challenges or some difficulties.
Oh, for sure. And exactly. What's the next step? I'll go ahead and tell you what happened there. Yeah. I did call the company on the Monday morning afterwards and complained, but in a very kind way, because I'm not, I did complain and put in, a very concerned complaint and said, I'm not a hard person, difficult person to deal with, blah, 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 blah. I was still, in my mind, I was still a little bit dismissed by them.
By the company. Okay.
And so, and nothing, no follow-up. So
Yeah.
then a week went by with zero follow-up. I called them on the next Monday morning and canceled my service.
Right.
And
Excellent.
then that's when everybody starts coming out of
Yeah,
the woodwork.
right.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And so that's what happened. It was like a boundary,
Yep.
you know, like a boundary, yes. And then if nothing happens there, then set an even firmer boundary.
Yes.
You know, and that's what I tell my clients as well is like, you know, set a boundary. If you just cannot like shut it off completely, then set a firm boundary.
Right.
And then if they continue to cross that boundary, then you call it quits.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. So, yeah, like you said, you're being nice, kind, you're being, connected to this person and then to the company. You know, you weren't being a jerk, but they were still
Right.
dismissing you. And so that's where, yes, that's where the line between the empath on the right path and the empath on the wrong path comes, meaning the right path is you keep setting what you did, set that firm, intentional boundary and taking care of self, saying what you mean what you say, don't say it mean.
There you go.
And consistently, that's the right path. The wrong path, which is what a lot of us fall into and, we get ourselves back out of is
Totally.
the codependency of apologizing or feeling bad or, having some kind of connection to this person or in this case, even the company's manipulation that maybe it is something with me.
Yes.
And then
Exactly.
that's where we fall into the wrong path.
Yes. Yes. I think that's so easy for us to do in the world. And I think that's why I found it so funny that day to post that little story because I think it's so classic. I mean, I find myself doing it with like my doctor as well sometimes. It's like not questioning because I think they know better, but it's like, no, I'm my own advocate. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And for a codependent or an empath, that's part of our healing really is to start, having the confidence, but where are you going to get the confidence? The confidence comes from the practice of, doing those little things at first to stand up for yourself. And those turn into the bigger things later on.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's good is, and that, again, that's why it's funny, but it's also really good for people to see is because everybody's focused on significant relationships, but if we don't focus on, our service relationships, sometimes with our children, sometimes with our parents, obviously that connects a lot of ways, friendships, colleagues, and then just like you said, just other types of, somebody at the grocery store, you know what I mean? Whatever the case may be. So it's really important to focus on all these aspects. And then that helps us to, shore up when we are in that really intense relationship.
Exactly. Because, when we're in love or think we're in love, when we're attached.
Yeah.
And in a family relationship as well, that attachment, that can be so tough, man. I mean, it's really easy to say in therapy session, but when you leave and get,
and you're actually in it.
It can be very hard.
Yes.
So the way that I learned, I'm glad that you brought that up because the way that I learned to do that was first in like my professional life.
Right.
Where it was a little bit more disconnected.
Yep.
I didn't care as
Wasn't
much.
personal or as personal.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
I still care.
Yes.
But but that seemed a lot easier. So it's like practice in that arena and then practicing. It's still hard for me with the service people, but because, they're working. I mean, I just really want to.
Compassion
I
and
have
empathy.
so much compassion. Small business, what I mean?
Right.
Just the whole nine yards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
However, people are people. And
Exactly.
so, and moving into that, the narcissist, the word of narcissist,
Yes.
and when people are acting like that. And it's such a big word now that sets things off. As a matter of fact, I'll, share, and I think, I did one reel. I've been doing reels constantly for about 4 or 5 years now. I think 4 years. And, some, hundreds or 1,000 views. And all of a sudden I did one on the narcissist, not even really paying attention to it, just in the process of my lecture series. And it's got over 500,000 views. And that's not necessarily all good, because there's a lot of good. There's a lot of follows and likes and all that, but there's a lot of people throwing stones and attacking, and
Yeah.
it's unbelievable what happens when that happens.
Uh-huh.
But this word, this energy, this type of personality is really in the zeitgeist right now, of popular culture.
Hmm.
And I think it's important. One of my goals, and I do talk about that in the book. As a matter of fact, I changed the designation from narcissist, because the word, first of all, it's a clinical diagnosis, and the word is getting out of control. So I changed it to a selfist, somebody coming from a self-centric point of view. And the reason why I do that is because also the people that are open to change and to help and to grow are the people that are associated with this person. And the people that are associated with this person need some tools. And one of them is to stop making that person the big bad wolf or the villain, because by doing that, now we're in victim role. And in victim role, now I'm powerless, and now I'm blaming, and now I'm attacking and judging, and I'm scared.
Hmm.
And yes, we can be victimized, but it's important we bring that person down to just who they are.
Right.
And then we can let it begin with me, which is my
Exactly.
favorite slogan in Al-Anon.
I know.
Actually, in
I
all
love
12
that.
step programs, because once I can look at me, what am I doing to contribute to it? And so, but I'm really finding, so in this reel, I'm finding that people are really throwing out this whole thing about also that it's hereditary, and science is already proving that. And I mean, and it hit me. I'm like, whether it is or not, in the nature and nurture,
Sure.
it's got to be a little bit of both, right? And I'm going to say I'm going to lean to mostly nurture, meaning mostly how we're developed from our childhood formatting and
Hmm.
developmenting. But the reality is that by saying it's just something that these are just bad people, then you know they're just terrible, and it's luck or bad luck that I got involved with that, and now I'm a victim. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that, because I know you work with a lot of people, especially a lot of women, and empowering women, and that's my goal too: empowering people, empowering women,
Hmm.
especially because they get, it's a tougher spot. But it's like, how do we get it to where we're not the victim, we're not being victimized, and these are the big bad wolf?
Totally. Yeah, I see that on social media with the polarization of everything. It's a narcissist and then the victim of the narcissist, or the survivor. And absolutely, I never want to dismiss that that is absolutely true
Right.
for many,
Yes.
many women.
Yes.
And I never want to dismiss that. However, that is a dangerous label sometimes to put on people, because narcissistic personality disorder, that is a very serious, serious condition that people have, that very, very difficult to not just diagnose, but it's very difficult to
True.
treat, as we know. And so to label, to just throw that on people because they broke up with you, or because they were a dickhead to you, or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, dude, like, we don't need to do that.
Right.
I promise there are so many of the very abusive relationships, and you definitely need to get out immediately. But I think you and I are talking about the more the grayer area there of, what do you what do
Yeah.
you do there? How do you get out of that victim role? So for me,
Yes.
I'll say for me,
Yep.
and I do write this in my book too, for my own healing, I had to take responsibility for myself. And that not only looked like me getting therapy and me, really getting wrapped around in support and all the things, but it also, for me, it was also a lot of looking at, okay, wait, what did I have a choice in doing? What were my choices here? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like looking at those choices, like I made that choice.
Right.
And so what made me make that choice? Like, and I have to change that piece of myself.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And then things like just responsibility for my own recovery as well. Like I could focus on him all day long
Yes.
and that would have really but I would have never gotten better.
Right.
Like I could still
Well,
focus on
and
him.
more than likely, you would probably just choose somebody that looked or sounded different, but was the same thing. And that's what
Same old
happens.
pattern.
That's where we get into those patterns.
If you stay in that victim place, it really will be that same old pattern of, I'm waiting on someone to come and save me.
Yeah.
And then somebody comes and saves me for about 3 months tops.
That's the limits. Yes,
Yes.
right. Yes.
3 months tops.
Yes.
And then they start being their person.
Yes.
And then it all goes south again. And so then I stay in the relationship too long and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So in order to very much put a stop to it, I had to look at myself and really put some boundaries on me.
Yes. Yeah. And I always say that's the most important boundary. It's what am I allowing to happen to me? What am I doing outside of me that's attracting or connecting or, bringing it back into me?
Totally.
And so, yeah, that's the empowerment. And it's really well said because it's really important that, and like you said, you started it off with, of course, there's really people that have done really bad things. And there's levels of pathology,
Absolutely.
if they have a serious pathology, a narcissistic pathology, almost into a sociopathology or definitely into that,
Mm-hmm.
that is an outlier. The good news is that's not the majority of humans.
Exactly.
Now, there is a large portion of humans that are narcissistic, you know what I mean, or self-absorbed or what I call self-centric. And that person is still, not necessarily would be diagnosed a narcissist,
Correct.
but
Yep.
will try to get what they want when they want it. Being in recovery, we know that, when we're in any type of addiction, that's what the human does, just try to get what we want when we want it. And so, and it can come out into other types of attachment addictions and things like that.
Absolutely.
And so, I'm really, it's really important that it's such a like it's like defusing a bomb, right? I mean, it's like you don't want to like side with people, victim shame or victim blame. Of course not. Side with the people that are hurting the people. But you also don't want to be, you want to validate the people that are hurt and help them to get the healing and then the empowerment. And by the empowerment, it's not to just, focus all the attention on how terrible these people are. And I think if we can
Exactly.
shift that narrative,
Mm-hmm.
one person at a time, one reel at a time, and that becomes the 500,000 viewed thing, you know what I mean? Rather than where I really, that's one of my goals I'm hoping to do with my book. I know you've got your book that does it too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, it's not about victim blaming. It's about victim empowering because we're not a victim once we realize what happened. Let it begin with me.
Tell me more about your book because I've heard a lot about it, but I haven't heard a lot from you about it.
Yeah.
So
I've been saving it up because
please
it's
tell
been
me.
in writing and toiling,
Yeah.
And we've talked about that personally because, and I will go into yours in a minute, but, just the process, you know what I mean?
Gosh.
Yeah, I know you can relate to the process, especially when it's your first. I feel like after you get one done, you're like, okay, you've got a formula.
Never again for me. Ever.
You're done.
And now ChatGPT is out too.
Yeah,
that would have been a wonderful tool back
well,
when I was
is,
starting.
But when you've got an editor, and
want.
I've got it, and she's because it is a wonderful tool, but it also is got a lot of garbage in it.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Of course.
So
and people
writing,
can tell.
Yes,
all the things.
But so I'm in editing now, it's called Empath on the Right Path: From Codependency to Empowerment. And really, it's so I take people that are empathic or sensitive, which is I maintain that it happens at birth. That born empathic. We're born empaths because when we share the womb with our mothers, we're
Mm.
literally sharing the same nervous system, the same everything. Everything
Mhm.
is one. And so when we're birthed out, it's really critical because there is no self. We're just an attachment, literally, to that mother. And that's why it's so important at birth to really connect with the mother as much as possible because that's not just for survival, it's who we are, right?
Totally.
And so then that starts to develop outside of that, with the baby, with the infant. But I maintain that all babies are empaths because they're connecting. You know what I
Mm.
mean? That intent, and being a mother, that you had
Mhm.
two. And being a father, we can have that too. It's different. But the first time I held my daughter after she was born, um, it was all night, and then it was like a couple hours later, and you know, her mom, my wife at the time, was sleeping, and the nurse came in and swallowed her, and she want to hold want to hold her. I'm like, yeah. And as soon as I held her, I had this feeling I never had before or since. It was this, and the only way I can explain it was just this complete connection of love and empathy
Mm.
because it was like yeah, it was like I'm connected to this human like I've never been connected to another human.
Mm.
Now, I was once connected to my mother like that, like I said, because that's what I maintain. But
Yes.
I don't, it's years and stuff
Mhm.
and things get in there, and so I don't necessarily have a sense memory of that.
Mhm.
But that one with my daughter, I do, and so at that point, and now let's reverse it. So I was that baby with my mother, and then and my father, but then years go by and stuff happens in life and direct and indirect, stuff, and now I've lost my sense of the empathy. Well, you're being too sensitive, and boys will get that.
Sure.
Girls will get, you need to have, you need to be able to have your own life, but boys will be like, now you need to like stop trying to be too sensitive and all that. And then what happens? We build all these things, and then we get, on the wrong path, and then the
Yeah.
codependency starts to hit because now I can feel what you're feeling. However, I need to like help you so that I feel
Yeah.
better. Right. Whereas if I had a healthy empathy, which by the way, the key to that is the four fundamental needs. Every child needs to be seen, heard, loved, and trusted.
Absolutely.
And so when I'm seen, I know I exist. When I'm heard, I know that I matter. When I'm loved, I know I belong. And when I am trusted for who I am, I know that I'm capable of handling things.
Now, do you use your own story and your own experience through the
Yes.
book? Oh,
Yes.
cool.
So I have some origin stories, I call it.
Uh-huh.
And I mix it in there, and so yeah, it's a mix of my story with my developmental
Mm-hmm.
of what an empath, and then goes into I go down the wrong path, and then in relationships of all kinds, like I say, not just romantic or significant other, but work, family, neighbors, community, different things,
Mm-hmm.
exterminators,
Mm-hmm. Totally.
and how we can, and how that manifests, and then the different ways that the selfist, what I call, and by the way, I call the empath on the wrong path, the codependent empath, the copath.
Okay.
And so, just kind of shortened it.
Yeah, I like
So
that.
we go from empath to copath. How do we get back to empath? And then I have the solutions, what I call the 3 C's, which is cleanse, connect, and communicate. And I have all these different things of setting boundaries and different exercises and techniques and ways we can do that.
Oh, neat.
And so, yeah, and that's really where, to try to connect with the reader and then be able to give the
Like
information.
practical
Yes,
solutions
yes,
too.
yes.
Like it sounds like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like you're given the information, but also like, because a lot of books when I was in my healing
Yeah.
era,
Yeah.
not that I won't, I'm sure I'll come upon something.
Yeah.
But no, you would read the book and okay, it's great. I've gained so much information, but then you're just like, okay, but now what do I do?
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
sounds like you have some guides, some guided
Yeah, practical tools
practical
to
tools.
help,
Exactly.
to help go into like
Love that.
moving through it. And so, yeah, going back to your book, I Do It For Her. What's the subtitle? I Do It For Her.
I Do It For Her, a memoir of recovery and redemption
Yeah.
from sex, love, and substances.
Substance. Okay,
Yes.
great. And I love the word memoir. And I saw on your thing, it's a memoirist or memoirist.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I've never seen that word. I'm like, that's cool. So you're a memoirist. But so yeah, so you put your story in.
I saw it somewhere.
No, it's great. I love it. I just love the way it looks. And,
Oh,
how do you say it?
that's
Memoirist or memoirist?
I know, because like I would put author, and then I'm like, but I'm not. I mean, I am, but
Yes.
I am an author.
Right?
However, like, but it is a I don't know.
You're telling your story.
You know
love
what
it.
I mean?
I love the word.
Like, I'm not a
word guy
person
anyways.
who writes like narratives or what do you
okay.
mean?
I
You
got
know,
you.
like.
No, it's a fantastic more and reading your book. I also know your story, but reading your story in depth, and I know you shared this with me a little bit ago, but I wanted to when you do share that in depth of personal story.
Oh God.
What? Yeah, I mean, how
Yeah.
did you have any experiences with people that
Yeah.
knew it was about them?
Yeah. Yeah.
So how did you navigate that, or how are you navigating?
Named them like in particular. There was no denying,
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I struggled. That's why it
Yeah.
took me so long,
Right.
really, because it was just so much struggle. With the personal shame, yeah, but like being in the 12-step program, I feel like I had, really resolved a lot of that personal shame. I mean, putting it out there into the whole entire world
Yeah.
is a little bit different. But I was okay with that for myself. It was my family of origin who I was so concerned with.
Right.
So, I mean, because all the men in the book,
Right.
I changed the names,
Yes. Yeah, sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
whatever. But my family of origin, there was no denying that. And I come from a very small town.
Yes.
So it's like, I mean, now we are here in South Florida. Like, we know it's a very small, like tiny little ant
Yeah.
on the whole big
Right.
world. But like in that small town,
Yeah. That's different.
everybody is everything,
Yes.
and like it is very, I mean, gossipy, yes, but I mean, that's kind of small town life for you.
Yeah.
You just know people so personally and so intimately in those towns.
Right.
Like it's precious in
Yeah.
some ways.
Right.
I grew up with many, many people. I mean, I don't know. I wish my kids had that, but in other ways, they are definitely in your business. So we kept all this hidden from everybody. Nobody would have ever known that there was addiction in my household, domestic violence in my
Yeah.
household,
Which is incredible that happened in some ways good, but in a lot of ways bad, because that also, and as you know, that we're sick as our secrets, and when we have this double life,
Mhm.
and again, and I really appreciate that, because even this forum is not to like then go back and still throw stones at
Ever.
your family, right, and or mine, or
Mhm.
and but obviously it again, it's not to blame these people.
No.
It's to just put it to the light so that we can have our own validation and healing, and actually offer them healing. And if it's not a direct way, an indirect way.
Exactly.
Because it is an act of love. You wrote those things, the truth of those things, as an act of love, not an act of like revenge
Ever.
or some kind of.
Mm-mm. And I've read books like that
I know,
too,
of
where
course.
it's really,
Well, and they sell big.
it's like, oh, they sell big, but this was filled with compassion.
Yes.
I did a lot of work
Yeah.
around my
Yeah.
family of origin. I had to.
Yes.
That is your main attachment, as
Yes.
you spoke about earlier. Your main attachment is your mother and father, and to have that, it was more of a wound for me. Dad didn't leave, mom didn't leave. They were both there, but good grief, it was just so wounded.
Yeah.
And their wounds were in the family, wounding their 3 children.
Right,
You know
right.
what I mean?
Well, it's
So
passed
exactly.
along. Yeah.
Yeah. And it literally is just okay, let's just shine the light on this. Because that was in the dark our
Right.
whole childhood. And, this came out of it. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
right,
And it's just like, let's just look at it though. Because, had this been different, I wouldn't have been such an angry teen. I would have, really thrived and continued to go from that sweet, sweet girl
Yes.
into, a really successful woman in the beginning instead of having to go through
Detour.
the biggest detour. But like, no, it really is. But I look at their stuff too. Like, I know that they would have never done that. Like, twisting their mustache, trying to be evil.
Right.
You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
It was very, like, they were coming from such a wounded place, but they were so abusive to one another,
right,
which in turn was abusive to us.
Yes.
And then here we go.
Right. Well, and especially a sensitive girl, young girl
Yes.
is picking up stuff. And that's the other thing. So when we are sensitive or empathic, then we pick up what's not ours and then we take it on because we're picking it up so it feels like ours.
Mhm.
And then we feel like we have to fix it, but it's not fixing it in itself, except to try to be, that's when we put the roles on, right? We're either be the performer or
Exactly.
the mascot,
Yeah, the lost child.
the lost child, the scapegoat, whatever
Sure.
the case may be. That's another whole bank of it, but that's also part of it. But we're trying to fix them too. Like, I need you to need me, meaning that I need to fix you so that I'm fixed. I need to heal you so I'm healed. I need to help you so I'm helped.
Mhm.
And so when a little girl or little boy has that, it just comes part of the personality.
Exactly.
And then it becomes part of what we do attract in our lives, what we do carry out and create. And that's why, the detour aside, I mean, you needed that so that you could finally get to, wait a minute, what am I doing here?
Mhm.
Right. And that's really what your book does, right? It says, what am I doing here? And you finally made
Mhm.
and by the way, and it's several, and there still might be more to come. And I'm saying that for myself as well.
Mhm.
It's like first, like the early ones, you have these big revelations and you do big changes, right? Like
Right.
stop using drugs and alcohol, sex and love addiction,
Absolutely.
objectifying, whatever attachment needs and all that. But then it gets more subtle, but there's still more kind of layers to undo.
Absolutely. And it just is constant, but after you get that foundation, it's easier
Yes.
to take on
Right.
those other bumps in the road. But mine does go a lot into my addiction and just the mess of it all. It's probably hard for some people to read, but I thought that it was so important to write a book from a woman's perspective, from a woman therapist's perspective,
Yes.
on her story,
Yep.
authentically, not, and making it's the truth.
Yes.
It's like there's no polished.
Right.
I mean, I talk about my pornography addiction. I talk about my sex addiction, relationship and love addiction, and how my own chemical dependency, I don't know which came first. I mean, really, they both felt good to
Right,
me.
exactly.
And the chemicals numbed the heartbreak.
Right.
And the dopamine of the dating, helped the.
Yes.
So it all went hand in hand, and it all took me down a very destructive path. And I wanted to
And again,
just tell people
what I
about
love
that.
about that, again, the courage, and courage is just having fear and walking through it, and how do we walk through fear is we have faith, and that faith in ourselves, faith in a power greater than ourselves, and faith in those that support us. But, again, you're changing the narrative, and it's starting to change anyways, that women aren't allowed to have sex addiction,
Mhm.
It's changing on men on the other side too. That we're not allowed to have, be needy for love. You know what
Love
I mean?
addiction.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
And it's like, no, women and men, and we have different kind of wiring. But the reality is that it affects everybody. And so
Yes.
to be able to, and I know that you've made that kind of your specialty with women, sex and love addiction,
Mhm.
because that needs to, it becomes we're just the shame of our secrets is what keeps us sick. And when we can, we can't share it, all over the place until we've healed.
Been freed from it.
And that's when you're able to do it, which is, that's
Exactly.
what's awesome. And then
Exactly.
more people can, there's probably a person in,
Exactly. Yeah.
Binghamton,
10
Maine
bucks.
that
Yes,
has your
exactly.
book and like, oh my God, you'll never know it. But that's the beauty of it. You know what I mean? And I've always said that, that's the beauty of, let it begin with me. If and we're just channels, right? And we're doing this work. All it is, I'm just channeling the best I can, connecting with source, with God, with the person in front of me or the people and whatever I'm doing. And that comes from recovery, sharing. It's not me sharing, it's the message through me. And I know you get that. And so when we do that, I've always said, that thy will be done. I don't necessarily need to know who's getting it, who's getting help.
Mm-hmm.
It feels nice. And not just for the ego, but for the person too.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really important that, when you write a book, you're just putting it out to the world and, and it's into perpetuity. So, long after you're gone, you know what I mean? There'll still be this, this thing that has been set where somebody could come across it, in 30 years. And that's
Exactly.
wonderful. That's like
and
miracle.
That's why I put it out there, because it's like, it's my role. If God has given me the freedom from it, then it's my job, I feel like, and my responsibility to share it with as many people as I could, right? Yeah. And so, yes, being a therapist and helping women, that's one part, of course. Being a part of the 12-step program is another part, but like writing a book and putting it out there has been just like on such a macro level. Yeah. And people from Canada have messaged me. People literally have never heard of, Utah, never been to places. Some of these places have messaged me or emailed me and told me like how they feel seen or this or that, and it's just like, oh my gosh. Then it's just, I always say a prayer like, thank you, God, like because I know that was all of our Creator's work, right? I mean,
and that's why there's no mistakes. And so even during your process of pain, that now that you're healing and have healed in a lot of ways and continue to heal and you're sharing that, that's the whole point, I feel like that's the whole point while we're here. So, but I'm proud of you. And we're going to do a book tour eventually.
You too, dude. I know. I'm
my thing's going to get published.
Excited about this one. Yeah.
I mean, I have been, quote unquote, writing a book since 2012, but it's been different. And this one is from they've all been from my heart, but this one is one where I'm like, because it combines everything, right? It's the empath and the narcissist. It's really the sensitive person and the person that, they're both hurt, two hurting people. And how do I heal so that I can even be this message of healing and hope? And that involves addictions and, and all kinds of different human developmental stuff and communication. So that's really all we're doing here. And so figuring that out, so how do people find you, Kim? And what are you up to coming up? What's your thing?
Yeah, you can find me at on Instagram at Kim Litton Therapist. Same on TikTok. KL Counseling is my website.
Okay.
And what have I got coming up? Let's see. I co-facilitate a weekend workshop with our friend Tanya. We know Tanya Pignato.
Butler.
Yes, Butler now.
That's right.
Yeah, she got married. That's right. So sorry, Greg. I'm sorry. Anyway, we do that on June 26th. We do a weekend workshop for that family of origin childhood trauma.
Right. Okay.
3-day intensive. I have that coming up, and then what else? I'm going to be on a couple other exciting podcasts coming up, and I just joined, or they asked, whatever you do, to be on the board of AFAR, which is American Foundation. I hope I'm saying American Foundation of Addiction Research.
Okay.
And so, I will preach until the cows come home about female sex and love addiction using myself as an example
Right.
always, but it's like it would really be amazing if we could have some meaty research behind all that, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's some, but
Right.
not like a plethora like there is for, say, eating disorders or gambling
Right.
addiction or
Yes.
whatnot. Even sex addiction in and of itself, we need more.
That's it.
You know, and you constantly have to do it because after 5 years, it's considered like old or
Oh,
whatever
okay.
now.
I
Like if
gotcha.
you're writing or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, I'm a board of directors for AFAR
Nice. Very good.
now. So
Nice.
yeah, so that's been exciting because I've
Yeah.
never been on a board of directors before. So it's like I feel a little bit important.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
right. Yeah, no, yeah, in the big time. That's
Yeah,
right.
exactly. But
Nope.
now it's all it is I need to beg for money from
Yeah,
somewhere
right.
else. for
Raising funds. That's right. You're raising
for
funds.
something else. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I feel like, oh wait.
But it's obviously an important cause. It's
it's
near and
very
dear.
important to me.
And yeah, and I mean, and the stigma and the shame, you know, yeah, and especially like I said, sex addiction for women, stigma and shame, love addiction for men, different kind of stigma and shame, but it's more of you know, like, you know, not being strong, you know.
Yeah, and just not being recognized.
Right.
I think for
yeah,
men, you know.
and it really needs to be like, no, we can have our own wounding, you know, feminine and masculine in men and women, you know, and be able to like release the shame. That's really important. I mean, the shame is what keeps
The
everything
shame is what
toxic,
keeps us
you know,
sick.
quote
Yep.
unquote. The word toxic when it comes to emotional is always connected back to shame.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so if we can like just heal the shame, and all healing shame is just acceptance, right? Is a loving acceptance. It doesn't mean that we're condoning it or, you know, and making it right. You know, if it's not about the actual behavior, it's about the self, how the person
Mhm.
feels about self.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they feel better about self, then the behaviors stop. You know what I mean? I mean, they just shift and change and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, fall
I
away.
wish there was a better name for it besides sex and love addiction or something,
Yeah.
you know, because it does have so
Stigma.
much, so much.
Well, there's
more
two
to do.
three-letter words that are the most stigmatizing in language.
Right?
SEX,
Mhm.
stigmatizing, and GOD,
Yes.
stigmatizing. So, like, I have my own deep belief and faith, but I also respect others. So I don't just say God, God, God. I say source or energy, whatever it means to you. You know, for me it's God. For others, it's whatever it means. Is that's really important, the connection. And then sex, you know, yeah, all this stigma, and you know, it's good or bad. You know, it's just an energy.
Yeah.
Really, all it is just an energy.
Totally.
And it's just what we put on it and how we're looking at it is what creates shame.
And the title, Sex and Love for Females.
Yes.
So important to know because you can look at a male sex addict and a female sex addict and they look totally different.
Yeah.
The acting out is totally
Right,
different.
right.
And for females, the sex part is so not, I mean, it's so little. It's so much more about connection. It's so much more about connection for both the
Yes.
man and the female. Let's just be honest. And there's a break in there somewhere for connection, and both people are trying to seek intimate connection.
Yes.
Let's not be
Right.
wrong about that.
Right.
However, with men, it looks different
looks
than
different.
with women
I mean, I think it's
because of that stigma.
because of the stigma and men and again, it's when we're boys and then there's an objectification and then you know, and it's a simple
And it's
objectification.
totally okayed, you
right,
know,
exactly.
for boys.
For
like-
boys, right.
Mhm.
And for girls, it's more of a connection objectification, but
Mhm.
you know, but it's more complex, if anything. I would think.
It's so
Yeah,
much
right,
more
yeah.
complex. And that's what my spiel is all the time. It's so much more complex than a man. So therefore we need a whole different
Yeah,
kind of look at it.
Yeah, yeah.
And approach to
right.
healing
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Almost a whole different kind of milieu.
100%.
That's
Yeah.
great. Oh, that's really great. So, well, this has been wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I mean, it was a quick hour.
Always. I know.
We
it
ran
just
right
goes by
through
so
it.
quick.
Yeah, but I like it so much. We'll keep doing it. You
For
know,
sure.
have you on,
Yeah.
And you know, but like I said, I'd love to do we'll kick out a little book tour maybe in 2027.
Sweet. Yep.
You know, 2 published authors,
Yes.
therapists, and you know, and just you know, get our messages out there and one person at a time. But I'm grateful to have you here
Yeah,
and
I'm
to
so
connect with you
grateful
today.
that you bring me on.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
All
much.
right.
All right.
Thank you so much, Kim.
Okay, take care.
All right. And we'll see you next time on A New Perspective. Thanks for listening.